All right, CO everyone, welcome. It's a great day in the Cherokee Nation today. I appreciate you all joining us. We will just give a couple more minutes so everyone, we have a couple more people joining on right now. So we'll get started here in a little bit. I hope you're all having a great day. I am really loving the weather right now. We got a lot of rain down here in Oklahoma. So, which is typical for this time of year, but I think I'm not used to it because I was living in the desert for the last 7 years. So, it's just been really awesome to see spring, here in Oklahoma and all the rain and everything just coming back to life. It's really a blessing, to be here during this time. So, I'm just really thankful for this day. I'm thankful for all of you. Like I said, it's just a great day here in the Cherokee Nation capital today. So I'm very happy that you have all been able to join us. We got some really awesome things to talk about today. Today, we are going to talk about connecting with Cherokee culture, and we're going to talk about how we can make that, make sure that our culture is more accessible, for all tribal citizens, no matter where we live. That was one of the things for me, being an at-large citizen for so many years. I did feel disconnected at times from our culture and from the tribe. Of course, even though I did live at large, I lived in California. I, still kept up with my spirituality, but it's hard. You miss it. You miss hearing Cherokee. You miss all of those things. So that's why I think, now with the vaccine rollout and, things are starting, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can be optimistic and start to look toward the future in planning some of these events where hopefully, we're going to start being able to get together. And so I think that's something really awesome and really great for us to look forward to. So, and as we, look toward the future, I would like to get input from all of you, so that, we make sure that we are addressing, all of our citizens' needs, to make sure that we are offering the content that you guys, are looking for, providing the resources that you're looking for, and just, once again, just, making sure that we are, keeping our community, apprised of what's happening and, making sure everyone's feeling connected to the Cherokee Nation and to their culture. I think that's really important, especially, during these times where we have, ended up having to isolate, quite a bit. So looks like we got a good amount of people. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I'll go ahead and open us up in prayer really quick before we get started. Just to, give thanks to the Creator, for everything that we are blessed with and to start us off in a good way. So, Onetlanahi, we come to you in prayer today. We thank you for this day. Thank you for our blessings. Thank you for each other. Pray that you please be with all those today who are hurting and facing adversity, Creator. Pray that you please just put your hand over them and help them, guide us all. Help us to lift one another up. We just come to you in gratitude today, Creator. We thank you for everything we have and pray that you please just watch over everyone. Widow. Amen. All right. So we are going to be joined here in a little while by Dawni Squirrel. She will be joining us also. She put out a survey recently. I don't know if all of you guys were able to access it. It was on Survey Monkey, I believe. And this survey was very enlightening. She put out a number of questions about what classes should be offered, what activities or resources people would like to see in their communities. Also, she asked all of our at-large citizens for preference when we do these classes. If they have a preference for a day of the week or a preference for a time of the day. So for those of you who did not get to participate in the survey, I do have some poll questions we are going to put up in a little bit. That way we can just, get your feedback, and also I would like to get your input here in a little while. If everybody could put in the chat, some type of classes that they are looking for. So, just want to give you a heads up so you can start thinking about that. And, maybe here probably in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to go ahead and, oh, there's Dawni. All right. And so that way, everybody can have input on what we're doing to make sure that, everyone has access to the content that we are offering. And, everyone has input to make sure that, your voice is heard. And CO Dawni, I think you're still on mute.
CO.
All right. So, I was just going over your survey a little bit and talking about that. Do you have any comments on some of the responses you've gotten so far?
I try to keep that survey simple, about 10 questions, mainly on content and what times work best with people, for people. And so actually the thing that surprised me most was the time of day or the day of the week. So a lot of people said Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays are good days for them. So, but and as far as wanting more cultural content, that didn't surprise me, as I've been doing this work now through the Cherokee Nation for about 9 years. As I've traveled, people want to know more about culture. They want to have a stronger sense of belonging. They want questions answered. And so that is very much indicated in the survey. So that was good to see.
Awesome. Yeah, I was really happy with the responses. It did bring up some interesting things. One of the things that I was surprised about was the time slot we have now, Thursday at 11 a.m. was the least favorite time slot out of all the time slots.
Yes, so
it's going to be good, for us to, get this data and sit down and, be able to, make sure that we are addressing these things. So, I appreciate you putting out that survey, and I appreciate all of you who are responding. And, I look forward to your responses later today also. That way we can, make sure we are targeting, our programming for everybody. So we're going to go over a little information before we get started with the survey. So this presentation is connecting with Cherokee culture. And there we go. So not the previous presentation, but the one before that, we talked about our Cherokee traditions. We talked about, I mentioned that it's not just important what we do, but it's also very important that we all understand why we are doing these things. So, our traditions represent a critical piece of our culture. Cherokee traditions involve the values, beliefs, and spirit of our communities. They are the intentions and some of our activities as we strive to be at one with our spirit. Our traditions are not just what we do, but also the why. We continue to practice our traditions because they enable us to live a life of balance and wellness. To be a traditional Cherokee, it is not enough to know what we do, but we must know the reasons behind these activities and live these values every day. Thankfully, we have a wealth of knowledge in our elders, Cherokee National Treasures, and language preservation specialists who are more than happy to teach classes for your Cherokee communities. So that's what I really want. We focused on a couple of classes ago, but I really just want to reiterate, because growing up, we'll go, maybe play stickball, maybe we'll go to the stomp ground. If you live at large, you'll go to the at-large gatherings, the Chiefs picnic, and we get together, we eat, we you know um, are able to just have that good time together. But it's important for us to understand why we do those things, and it's not just to get together and have some laughs, but that's really kind of the foundation of our culture, is sharing that time, coming together in a good way. I was always taught that that's what makes the creator happy. When we go to ceremony, we go to stomp ground, seeing us all happy, seeing us all laughing, lifting each other up. It's a very important part of our culture. So I just want to reiterate, and I'm very happy to see, people are really engaged on this front, that whenever we do pass these things down to our children, we are passing down, our values and our traditions. And our traditions are not all the time the activities that we do, but they are perseverance, gratitude, forgiveness. All of these things, those are our traditions that I'm really happy for us, to see that we are able to pass down to our children. One of the things that I think, in America, a lot of times, unfortunately, we get caught up chasing money. And of course, that's just the reality of things. We all have bills. But unfortunately, part of that culture means that if you have money, you can be a jerk, you can be, rude, you can be all of these things. And it's kind of excused because you have money. And, and that's not how it works in Cherokee culture. And, of course, we all know, the people who were the most respected are the people who gave the most and who helped out the most. And so I am excited, when we do practice these cultural activities, for us to remember the reasons why we are doing them. It's so that we can walk in balance, so that we can treat one another well, so that we can forgive one another. And that's how we really persevere through all of these, hardships that we've had, is because, we are not crabs in the bucket. When things get hard, we lift one another up instead of holding each other down. So with that, Dawni, do you have any comment on, some of these things that we've talked about, with our Cherokee traditions? And, it's not just important what we do, making baskets and all of these things, but also, why we are doing it.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm trying to bring my video back up. There we go. Yeah, the why is so important. Otherwise, we're just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that. And quite honestly, there's times that I have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're really into something, and sometimes we might be struggling and just you were just there, and even in situations where, even at ceremony, we're there to help ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or, go into water and those sort of things. You have to be in the right mindset
Mm-hmm.
for those things. And yes, those things are there to help you. But again, we're human.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go through experiences and things in our lives where, we struggle sometimes. But it's so important to be mindful, be in the moment. And these are things I've come to learn to sort of meditate and focus on what is important right now, what is happening right now, and put your all into it, I suppose. So the why is so important. Otherwise, we're just going through the motions, and that's not always a good thing. But even to just go through motions is still participation in some way. You're still, keeping things going. And so until you're, I think, better in mind and spirit to bring that on. I mean, it's all growth, it's all experience that you bring with you when you participate in culture. So I think the why is so very important, and not just, you know, uh, what we do, but why we do it. And I think that is so key. And I also want to touch on real quick what you said about money and wealth. And I've noticed in our culture that sometimes those that have the least give the most too.
Mhm.
And so it is very much contrary to the world we live in,
Mhm.
where wealth is number one in this country. I don't want to get too political, but it
Mhm.
just is. It's just the thing in this country to build wealth. And there's so much in the news now about those that have a great deal of wealth, and those that don't, and those that that there's not equal access and things like that. So I just want to put that out there, that there is a different way of looking at resources.
Mhm.
Cherokees have a different way of looking at resources in general than the rest of the country sometimes, or in general. And so I'm glad that you touched on that, because that's such a big topic in this country, is wealth. And just, Cherokees look at it different. We take care of one another, we help one another, and we're a giving people. And so wealth and all of that is something new to the culture,
Mhm.
something that affects the culture, our culture. But we did have a different way of looking at assets and distribution of assets, and everyone contributing for everyone's survival at one time. I mean, we just had to. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Widow for sharing that, Donnie. I really appreciate that. So, how do our traditions shape our community? We also talked about this. To be a part of a Cherokee community means that we belong to something larger than ourselves. Our shared values and traditions form the foundation on which to build a platform for our culture to thrive. So, as we're going to talk about this in a little bit, we're going to get your input for what classes you would like to see, virtually, and then what activities or resources you would like to see in your community. I just wanted to go over this a little bit, before you guys gave your answers, just so you can continue to think about it a little bit about what makes a Cherokee community, what makes a strong Cherokee community. In the Cherokee traditions that have been passed down from our ancestors are what make us Cherokee. Our traditions help us to live in balance. If you are still learning about Cherokee culture or just beginning to learn, this does not make you less Cherokee. However, it is your commitment toward the perpetuation of our culture and language that makes you a traditional Cherokee. A lot of times, for me, myself growing up, I wasn't a fluent language speaker. I always felt less than. And I think that's, really unfortunate and unnecessary, especially, in our tribe. I feel like there's really been a really big effort made to make sure that all of our tribal citizens feel included and feel just as much a part of the tribe, as anyone else. And, we don't have a hierarchy in our tribe. No matter your blood quantum, no matter, what stomp ground you may or may not belong to, whether you are fluent in Cherokee or just starting to learn, that's, I really, would like to drive this home that, while we are thinking about, how can we further continue to connect to our culture? As we go along the way, we have to be kind to ourselves in this process. For, a lot of our ancestors, mine included, my grandfather, he was hit in school for speaking Cherokee. And so it's no wonder that it wasn't, passed down, as much as it should have been. And so, as we, sit here, this, I think maybe third generation removed from the boarding school era, uh, I think we're right where we're supposed to be. We're here and we're continuing to persevere. And if you look now with our language immersion programs and all of our Cherokee communities, all of the work that you guys are doing all throughout the country, I mean, it's just like we're on a trajectory that is, really awesome, and really going to continue to make sure that our citizens, no matter where they live in the country, are going to have access to our language and to our culture. So, that's one thing I just really wanted to reiterate is through this process, make sure that we are, being kind to one another and being kind to ourselves, not being too hard on ourselves about, oh man, I should have done this or I should have done that. I think we're right where we're supposed to be. And, what I am excited though is about how much access we do have now to our language and to our culture. Dawni, do you have any thoughts on that and, maybe what people should be looking for as we, are do continue to try to provide more access in our communities?
Yeah, what's exciting is we have new platforms, to connect with one another. And so, we have the ability to connect instantly and share information instantly and from our communities, even from our most remote sort of isolated communities like Kenwood, where I come from, to our folks in Florida, to our folks in California, and so it's incredible the opportunity we have now to connect with one another. And the pandemic has sort of forced us into doing that. For a long time I have wanted to do online programming, but just couldn't make the time to do it, or didn't make the time to do it, as because we were traveling so much. But this has given us a chance to put this into practice now. And even when we're able to travel again, I see us still using this platform because I think we've become more comfortable with it, and now we know we can do it. And so what I love about sharing culture is, I always share what I learn. When I learn something new, I share it.
Mhm.
And sometimes that could be information I've learned here at the local level, around Tahlequah in the reservation area. But I have gained so much information from travel and meeting with our people across the country too.
Mhm.
Just because you don't live here, it doesn't mean you don't know anything about our culture. Our
Mhm.
people in our at-large communities know a lot about our culture,
Mhm.
and I've brought that with me. But then, sometimes here at the local level, our people here don't know about our culture as much as they think they do,
Mhm.
because we go through so many systems that seek to change that, where it starts in public school, and where you're not learning about your culture daily. You're
Mhm.
learning about a different culture, a different way. Even the way we're educated is not the way we educated in our history. So so it's real interesting now that we have this platform where we can just we don't have to depend on outside institutions to teach us culture. We can do it ourselves as citizens. And so it's real exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I appreciate you talking about that. And I think, when we do get together and we share ideas, we share our culture, I definitely do learn on a daily basis. And so I'm really happy when I do get to connect with our at-large citizens and our citizens here because, I just get to keep learning and keep getting better. And that's what's really awesome,
Mhm.
and there's no deadline, like, what I mean? I always felt rushed when it came to our culture, when it came to, our language. And, I just want to make sure that we aren't putting unreasonable expectations on ourselves. Even when I was young, I was learning to lead Stomp Dance. And I think I was, still working on it. By the time I think I was probably 8 or 9, they started putting me out there. And I would be so hard on myself about 10, 11, 12 that I hadn't mastered it. And, it's just like, and then, that continued to go on. And then with my language, proficiency, always that's been in the back of my mind, like, instead of being kind to myself and appreciating how much I was learning, I was
Mhm.
instead being really hard on myself and felt like a bad Cherokee, or something because, I didn't have just all of this knowledge and everything. So, but I am, like you said, I am really excited about, what our at-large communities are doing, the classes they are offering. And, as we continue to, expand on what we offer virtually, I think we're just going to, really, be able to reach a lot more people. So
Yeah.
um,
And
with that,
Abraham,
go ahead.
Abraham, you made me think of something. When I first started stomp dancing, I was in my late 20s because in our community, the ceremonial fire had moved out in the 1950s,
Mhm,
is what I estimate. And so I discovered it later in life. I was in my late 20s, and the women shake with the turtles or the cans on their legs and carry the rhythm of the dance. And it takes a little bit to get that down. And so finally, I did get it down thanks to listening to a lot of blues music, I think.
mhm,
That's how I found my rhythm.
mhm,
But I think I remember an instance where I was at a ground and there was a young person learning how to dance and find the rhythm. And you could hear her, because when someone's not in rhythm, you can hear them.
mhm,
And there was a criticism of her, not from me, but there was a criticism of her. She didn't sound good. She didn't
mhm,
sound right. And I look at it like this way: I would rather have people not carrying the rhythm, because they're learning,
mhm,
they're trying. And it's almost it's a beautiful sound when you hear someone not in rhythm,
mhm,
because you think, okay, we have people still learning.
mhm,
So I'm always happy to hear someone
mhm.
that's learning. So
Yeah, definitely. And I, one of the things I really have embraced, I think, here in my later years is, just because you don't do something well doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
yeah.
Especially for me when it comes to art, when it comes to, a lot of this, mindfulness activities, a lot of things that I do for myself to walk in balance, and not just, our culture, but I wouldn't do them because I wasn't good at them,
Mhm.
and continue to do it. You don't have to be the best, at something. I don't think I will ever be, a master at a lot of things, but I'm going to continue to do them because they're healing for me. They're healing for my spirit. They help me with my spiritual wellness, all of these things. So yeah, that makes me think of that also. And it is, awesome to hear somebody who is learning, and we
Mhm.
get to be in that position now where we get to encourage them.
Mhm.
I think that's, what Cherokee culture is all about.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited for all of you also to continue to share this culture, with your children, and they're going to be able to pass it down to their children. And that's what's really awesome, for kids who are living maybe Kansas or, Oregon, California, Arizona, Washington. Your kids and grandkids, are going to be raised in Cherokee culture and raised in a Cherokee community, because you guys have formed these communities out there, and you continue to get stronger. You continue to, engage your citizens there. So that's really exciting, and I look forward to, our future generations who don't have to feel less than, or feel like they aren't connected to their culture. So,
Mhm.
what Donnie, I appreciate you sharing that. So it is survey time. So now we are going to go ahead and, um, I'm going to share a couple polls to get us started, and then I would like to hear from you guys. Um, if, what you would like to see, offered as we move forward. So I'm going to launch the first poll. This poll just says, what, are the best days of the week for classes? So, you can pick, um, one or two, um, or three, choices. And so this way we can gauge, what's going to be the best time for us, to do these things, and, to have our classes. So, I think, we do want to make sure that, we are putting ourselves in the best position, to reach our citizens and make sure that we are, making things easier. So we'll just give it a little bit more. We're up to 62% of people who have voted. So we'll just give it just a little bit longer, give everyone a chance to vote. So, but yeah, I was really surprised that actually the day we have it on now was the worst day. So let's see where we're at now. So looks like Tuesday is the big winner, Tuesday and Saturday. So like I said, we are going to take this information back. We are going to, get with our team and make sure we come up with a really good plan for, our future classes. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And so now I'm going to share another poll. And this one is about online language classes. So, I would like to hear from you guys if, you guys would be interested in online language classes. I know that's something I've spoken to Ryan Mackey about, and they do offer online language classes right now. So, well, that one was easy. We are at 100% yes. So, I really do think that is a great way for us to connect with each other, and speak the language and practice the language. I really, a lot of times I wouldn't practice the language because I wasn't good at it, or, I wouldn't get it right. And I really let that get in the way of my growth and get in the way of my learning. And that's really unfortunate. But like I said, I don't want to put myself in that position anymore.
Yeah, Abraham, can I add something here real quick?
Yes.
I've always thought of language as I've come to understand language a little better. I mean, I don't speak. I'm in the same boat as you and so many of our people where, our relatives were not treated well, parents, grandparents, so we weren't taught. I mean, it was intentional that we did not learn our language. It was planned, and so what I come to understand is, that's how we see the world, is through language. I remember my mom saying things are funnier in the language. There's more descriptive or it's more visual in your, the visuals are different in the Cherokee language. So I think of language in terms of learning the culture as the car, the vehicle to get to everywhere, whether it's ceremony and art and, celebrations and food and all those things that are culture, and even the unseen things I've talked about, like behaviors and expectations, things like that. But I think of the language being almost first and foremost in terms of us getting to where we need to go, and understanding culture in great depth. So I just wanted to add that.
Oh, I appreciate that, Dawni. And it is, really important, and it really helps us to feel connected to the culture, like you said. So I appreciate that. And that leads us into our next question. And this will be our last poll. Do you feel connected to Cherokee culture? So this is anonymous. Feel free to answer. And this is just going to help us, continue offering, content that is going to bring people, closer to our culture. So, I really, I think this is a good, gauge for us to see, what kind of classes should be offered and, what our focus should be, as we continue to help people try to feel more connected to our culture. I think it's really important. So we'll just give it a little bit longer. I think everybody is answering right now, so we'll go ahead and close it out. So, our biggest response is a moderate amount. That's awesome. And we got 0% of not at all. So I'm really happy to see that. I'm really happy that everybody is, at least a little bit feeling connected, to Cherokee culture. I think that's really, really important. That's really awesome to see. So I really appreciate all of you guys. I thank you guys all for participating in those. I think those are really going to help us in the future as we do shape our curriculum right now. Donnie and I and Kevin, we're actually in the process right now of looking at new classes, and bringing in Cherokee National Treasures to teach some of these topics that you guys are interested in learning about. Instead of hearing from me every week, I think it's going to be really beneficial for you guys to hear, if you're interested in basket making or making stickball sticks or any of these things, to hear from, our Cherokee National Treasures who have devoted a good amount of their life, to perpetuating these activities and, these cultural aspects. So as we continue to move from here on and, move through the presentation, if you guys can go ahead and at your leisure now, just put into the chat what classes you would like to see offered. I think that would be, we're really interested in hearing from you guys. We are going to take all of your suggestions, and we are going to, like I said, that's going to dictate what we do from here on out. So as we continue to go through here, if you guys can just go ahead and start putting your answers in there, I would really appreciate that. So we are going to continue the presentation now and talking about some of our Cherokee traditions. We talked about these, a little while back, but I just want to reiterate, what they are. These are the why. We know what we do with a lot of our cultural activities, but this is a reason for them. Gratitude, ceremony, forgiveness, balance, sacrifice, perseverance, service, mindfulness. These are really important. Mindfulness has come up a lot for me. I went through a lot of health problems recently. I think I told you guys about, and also, I think a lot of you are aware that I am a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for over 8 years now. And, the mindfulness that I've learned in Cherokee culture is what really helped me through my illness and continues to help me in my sobriety. I've struggled with anxiety on and off my entire life. And I think that's a symptom of the society we live in now. We're bombarded with commercials to make us feel not good enough so that we buy whatever product, they're selling, whatever pill they're selling, and, whatever makeup, they're trying to sell, or clothes they're trying to sell. We're targeted a lot and we're made to feel not good enough. There are a lot of pressures on our time. We can't really run on Cherokee time anymore. Your boss may not be very understanding if you show up 50 minutes late to work every day and you let them know, hey, I believe everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And I believe I'm supposed to get here when I'm supposed to get here. I don't know if that's going to fly, but that's the way we're supposed to live. For us to be healthy, we're supposed to have that balance and that mindfulness. So, that's a big one that's really helped me lately. I just go outside, I'm in nature. I take off my shoes, walk around my yard a lot. And I just, I really love it. They call it earthing. I'm sure you guys are aware, and it's a really new age progressive thing, but it's something we've been doing forever. And it's something Cherokees have known and indigenous people have known forever about that culture, to the earth. And I just love going out barefoot, walking, breathing, as I have gone through anxiety struggles, I noticed that my breathing is always shallow because I'm always in a hurry. My mind is always racing. I'm always late for somewhere. And I just go out, I breathe deep. I just let my mind go. And, that mindfulness, just really being in the moment, being present, that has really helped me through my illness, through the pandemic. And I feel like it helps me with my spiritual wellness also. I feel connected to the Creator. I feel connected to those around me. I feel connected to my environment. And I really, I'm just quiet, and I really let, I listen, and I kind of just open myself up to direction. And it's been amazing. It's been transformative for my life. And this is something that's taught at our stomp grounds. It's taught in our culture. And so for me, that's been a really big one lately, That's really helped me. Donnie, have there been any of these, lately that, have you really, been a big part of your mind, or your life, or something you've been working on?
I've really been working on mindfulness and meditation and being in the moment.
Mhm.
And it's actually the um, Buddhist tradition that has helped me with that. I remember uh, seeing, we think of meditation as just being able to clear your mind completely, which is not possible. I
Mhm.
mean, maybe some, but it's not, because it's just too difficult.
Mhm.
But what I have what I've learned through the Buddhist tradition is that you hold those thoughts,
Mhm.
you have them, you don't focus on getting rid of them, because then you're not focused, but if it comes in, you don't judge it, and you don't feel worry about it for a short time. You see it, but you are mindful. You say, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to fix it right now. It's there, but I'm not going to attach emotion to it. I'm going to observe it, and so that's something that has been helpful. It's something I do daily, especially if I get stressed and I think, okay, I'm going to take this for a little bit, this situation, and it's there, but I'm in it, I'm just going to look at it a little bit different and just give myself a little break from worry and from trying to fix it, because I find that, the answers come when they're supposed to come. And so, and then just trying to find the balance again. I pray for balance every day. We need more balance in this world. We live in a world that's it's either or. It's
Mhm.
either this or it's that. And we don't have a good balance in terms of our environment and equality, and that's just on a larger scale. And what's interesting is, you know, it's interesting to observe the world as a Cherokee, because we see people struggling for, say, women's rights.
Mhm.
And yet, as a Cherokee, our women we've been equal in society
Mhm.
for hundreds and thousands of years. So
Mhm.
it's really interesting to watch these struggles from a Native Cherokee perspective and go, wow, in some ways, in a lot of ways, we are advanced.
Mhm.
We're still waiting for the rest of the world to catch
Mhm.
up, or the rest of the country to catch up. So that's what makes me think of balance. So, and that can be an interesting place to be in the world when you have accomplished something as a people, and there's a struggle in the larger world, because people kind of look at Native people as not being advanced,
Mhm.
and it's just not true. We have, through time and ourselves, have figured out and sorted out a lot of things that the rest of the country is sort of grappling with. So anyway, but these are the wonderful whys of why we do the things we do. Perseverance is huge. Here we are. We are still here. We have been through so much. Everything that you can throw at a people, we have overcome it, and we are still, still we're in a better place than a lot of tribal people around the world, who are really, really in deep, deep struggle, who are, where we were 200 years ago,
Mhm.
where they're still being removed from their lands
Mhm.
uh, for their resources.
Mhm.
And I'm always mindful of them too. I pray for them daily. And so, but perseverance, we have done that, and we still continue to do it. And so that's why, when we talk about culture today, it's important that we continue to ensure that we have these important aspects of our culture that make us unique, and not just unique, but we have something to offer, like women and equality. We might
Mhm.
be able to teach somebody something there. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's why it's important for these that we have these traditions, not just for ourselves, but to be examples.
Mhm. No, definitely. And our perseverance, I think, is really tied to our culture. And our culture, Gadugi being one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
value to where, we just help each other. And, I continue to talk about, the training I went to, and it was a Yone guy, a Caucasian guy, told us, he said, natives are like crabs in the bucket. He said, every time one tries to rise up, another native will always grab them and pull them back down. And so, I just continue to remember that, and remember how I don't want to be. And so, as we go out, we just, if I see somebody doing something positive in the community, native or not, I make sure to, whether it's, give words of support, or, financial support, or go give my time, just making sure that we are supporting each other, and I think that's why we've persevered also, because we do help each other out, when times get tough. So I appreciate that. So, um, and then, so now we're going to talk a little bit about, what traditional activities perpetuate our culture. So, these are our ceremony, fellowship, language, games, art, gadugi, hunting and gathering. All of these activities are what perpetuate those traditions that we talked about. The forgiveness, the perseverance, wellness, mindfulness, and so whenever we do these activities in our Cherokee communities, whether they're at large or at home, we get to, like mindfulness for existence. For example, for me, when I'm making baskets, you're supposed to think positive thoughts whenever you are, weaving into that basket, because if you give that to somebody, you're giving also, that good medicine that you're weaving in there with your thoughts. And so that's, mindfulness right there. And it just always makes me feel so peaceful, when I'm making baskets. And I'm not very good at it, like I said, but I think that's besides the point. I think it's, our intention, and, it's what we're putting out there. So, all of these cultural activities, I would really love to see our citizens participate. If you get a chance, if you guys start playing stickball again, don't sit in the chair, get out there, run around, laugh, hit somebody. It's just really, what our culture is about, smiling, laughing, helping one another. I think that's really important. So,
Yeah, Abraham.
mhm,
Uh, yeah, laughter. I think we're the funniest people in the world.
mhm,
We are the funniest people in the world, and people don't always get that about us because a lot of time we look serious,
mhm,
and but we are the funniest people in the world.
mhm,
And I've noticed, especially with Cherokee speakers, as soon as they greet one another, they're laughing about
mhm,
something,
mhm,
and that laughter has carried us. And I've seen it in some of our most difficult times. We still find a way to laugh,
mhm,
and it helps make light of, it helps us cope,
mhm,
and it connects us. And so I wanted to throw that out there about laughter. But I wanted to give a real quick example of why it's important to participate. I've thought of myself as a coordinator for a long time, just a coordinator,
mhm,
just to make things happen for
mhm,
people. And I remember there was a pottery class taught by Jane Austen. I love Jane. I've known Jane for a long time, but I wasn't sure about going because I didn't have time. I didn't have, I had things to do. And so I went to this pottery class, and it was so when you're able to focus on one thing
mhm,
for a day or two, it helps you find clarity and peace.
mhm,
When you make the time to focus on something, that's what I learned from that
mhm,
experience. And I actually made something, and it felt like an artist for the first and last time in my life, because I made this pot, and it wasn't perfect, but she helped me fix it in a way that uh, it was okay. I
mhm,
mean, it was a finished piece of art. And so just working with clay, working, with a group of a few people, you visit, you laugh, you eat together. It's so important to take time to do those things for yourself. When you tell yourself, I'm too busy or I don't have time, find something. And if you can't, find something in your communities across the country. If it's something someone else is offering, even do that for yourself. Take the time to go learn something you've wanted to learn for a long time. And one more example, stickball. I thought, stickball tradition in Kenwood, where I grew up, was gone. As long, when the ceremonial fire left in the 1950s, I think, the stickball tradition went with it. So as an adult, I started coordinating some games, but I didn't participate. And then one time I did play. I mean, I would tell myself, games are for kids. This is what I would tell myself. Games are for kids. So I got out there and I had the best time. It's good exercise. It's good interaction with your people, adults, elders, children. And that's what I learned from that. And now my belief is I'm not too old for anything. If I want to do kid-like activities, or what we think of as kid activities, I do them. Because it reminds you of being a kid. It reminds you of being lighthearted. And, and so I think that's important parts of our culture too, is it can be healing. It can focus you. It can connect you. And so I think that's those, looking at culture and those aspects of just, opening your mind again to possibilities and allowing yourself those opportunities, I think, are very important.
Definitely. And I appreciate you talking about that, because a lot of times, especially as I get older, I maybe want to move to the sidelines or, something like that. But, definitely want to continue participating, at the Stomp Ground, especially, the chief would always get out there and, even in their elder years, continued playing ball. So, I think it's definitely important. So I'm excited. I can't wait until we can get out there again. Hopefully hopefully later this year, we're going to be able to get out there. So,
yeah. And I remember just real quick, we were playing stickball with our group in Florida, the Cherokees of Central Florida. And there were just two women, me and an elder woman. And I took more breaks and more drinks than she never took a break. And she never took a drink. And so I just was so amazed by her and respected her so much for that. So that's just a really good memory of playing stickball in one of our at-large communities.
That's awesome. So we are getting a little close to our time being over, but one thing I wanted to cover one of these activities, because I've gotten a lot of questions lately about people who want to visit Stomp Grounds, that they want to do that, whether they're traveling from way out of state, across the country, or they're traveling from here. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about what the protocol is if you do find yourself in a position where you want to visit the Stomp Ground, because, these things, they belong to all of us. Our cultural ways belong to all of us. And so I think if people have a little more awareness, and a little more knowledge of the protocol, it won't seem so intimidating, when you're just driving to a dark spot in the woods, and it's the middle of the night and maybe you don't know anybody. I understand it can be a little intimidating, but Stomp Grounds are some of the most welcoming places in the world. It's probably the most welcoming place I've ever experienced in my life. There was a bus one time that came driving out of the woods to our Stomp Ground. People were driving from Missouri and had gotten lost, and we fed them, and then, invited them to stay. And that's Cherokee way. That's how we are. So, our spiritual practices and ceremonies help us show gratitude, to honor the Creator for everything we have. This may involve medicine, prayer, song, and dance. If you are not close to where ceremonies are held, it is still possible to keep this tradition alive through prayer, meditation, and mindfulness. Showing gratitude and practicing forgiveness, for example, is a part of ceremony and can be done anywhere. So if you do go to the Stomp Ground, one of the stories I tell my uncle, when I was little, he pointed at the posts that lined the road to the Stomp Ground and said, leave your negativity beyond the posts. All of your fear, your jealousy, your resentment, all of that, you leave it outside. That way when you come in, because those things get in the way of your spiritual connection, and they just cloud your mind and they serve no purpose. So I started practicing that when I was young. I would leave my anxiety, my fear, my jealousy, resentment, my anger. I would leave it all out there. And I just felt so free. I just, to this day, I can still remember, the first times that was able to work for me. So, that's one of the first things you do upon entering the stomp ground, and just leave everything there. And then when you get there, what I always do is go to the cook shack. I find the cook shack, and you're going to know it's the cook shack because it'll probably be the only light on, and so, there's going to be food over there. So, I'll go over to the cook shack, introduce myself. They will offer you something to eat, offer you something to drink, and, I will eat, I will get some coffee, and I'll just thank them, I'll introduce myself and I'll thank them, for allowing me to come and visit. And, then I'll go set up my chair. I'll set up my chair always outside the arbors. So the arbors are, the wooden like structures. They will have benches there and they will be around the fire. So one thing you always want to remember is, to not go around the fire, and don't go in the arbors. You're going to know when it is time to dance because, everyone will go out there. Usually the first dances, they're for the members only. And, they will, go through specific dances that, will help, with the medicine for the stomp ground and, everything like that. However, whenever, they do, are able to get their first dances, go through those, then it's going to be open to everybody. So at a stomp dance, it goes man, woman, man, woman. So, the men sing the songs and the women, like Dawni said, wear shackles and, make music, with their feet. And so, whenever I go and I'm visiting at a stomp ground, I always get towards the back, and that's just, because I'm respectful of my elders. I let the elders, get out there and get towards the front. And so, also if you have little children, the children are always supposed to get in the back. So if you see, where it goes man, woman, just make sure you keep that same, that same pattern. So if you see a woman shaking shells, two women together, you can go ahead and get in between one of them if you're a man. And if you're a woman, even if you don't have shackles on, you can just go ahead and get in the back, and dance. And then the men, sing the songs, and then you'll repeat the songs. You will answer the leader, and you catch on pretty quick. I will go more in depth about this, as we are entering now the seasons where a lot of our grounds are opening up. But I just wanted to touch on this just a little bit, because I do have some people who have reached out saying they plan on visiting stomp grounds in the near future. So I just would like for you to, make sure that you are being able to be respectful and adhere to some of these protocols. The fire, it is a sacred fire. The smoke is what carries our prayers and our intentions, up to the Creator and up to our ancestors. And so, you don't play around there. We always go counterclockwise. So, our movement is a counterclockwise. And so, and one piece of advice I have is just until you catch on or feel comfortable, you just feel free watching. You can watch and then see how the dance is done and see how things go. And then, you can go ahead and get out there and participate and sing some of the songs. So, like I said, these things do belong to all of us, but, we just want to make sure we are respectful of these grounds when we do go visit, that we are adhering to the protocol and, just making sure that we are being respectful. So to that, Dawni, do you have anything to add, for somebody who, may find themselves here in the near future going to visit the stomp ground?
Yeah, not supposed to eat in the arbors. I learned that one the hard way. Let's see, clothing can be an issue. Women wear the skirts, the long skirts, and but We had somebody come to one of our my ground one time, and she was a visitor, and she was wearing a dress where it was a little more tight fitting and sleeveless, and I remember someone was really upset about that from another ground. And I said, a long time ago, before European contact, when we danced around our fires, I bet our people were almost naked. you know, I, I think that's probably some modern influence on us. So I don't really get upset about it at our ground, but I do follow the rules when I go to other grounds.
Mhm.
When people come to the ground I belong to, I don't, I am always mindful that they're learning. So I don't get upset with anyone. I'm just glad to see them.
Mhm.
And so, but there might be different levels of when you go to a ground. People are strict with rules, and sometimes they're not. And so, clothing, they don't like for men or women to wear shorts around the ceremonial fire, things like that. But again, I really think, this is my personal opinion, that's an outside influence. But that's what they go by today. So
Mhm.
I respect that. So clothing.
Well, oh, I appreciate that. So,
Mhm.
with that being said, if you do have questions about, these things, feel free to email me, you guys, and, I will definitely help you guys out, in this area. I'll throw my email in the chat. It is Abraham-Bearpaw@Cherokee.org. So before we get out of here, I would like to go through some of your responses a little bit and just see, what people have, suggested as far as, some of these classes. I'm really interested to see. So Sarah said she took the online class with Ed. Um, that's awesome. That's really good. He is a really great teacher, and I actually do some of those classes as well. So thank you for that. Classes on traditional Cherokee cooking and ingredients. I like that.
Yeah.
Where and how to identify, find edible plants, roots would be fantastic. That's a good
Oh,
idea, Jeff. Go ahead,
Abraham,
Donnie.
it says ramps too, and that's real interesting because that's Eastern Band Cherokees in our homeland of North Carolina area, which is a whole other topic, really. But when we talk about connecting with culture, we've got our homeland and our
Mhm.
people in our homeland. That I think is important to have that connection as well. So maybe in one of our future presentations, we can connect with someone in our homeland and talk about their life ways out there.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you for that, Donnie. Yeah, I would really love that. That would be really, really great to see. So I appreciate that. So, as when we're talking about traditional cooking and foods, I don't know if it was, you know, but I know here my grandma used to make sassafras tea. So that's one of the things I really remember about growing up here is smelling that sassafras tea, and it smells sweet and just really awesome, and it is healing also. So that's one thing I remember from my youth. So um, and then we'll keep going down. So stomp dance for ladies and making regalia for ladies. That's a great idea. I really appreciate that one, Cindy. We did have a class recently. Tanya Weeble taught a sewing class for our Puget Sound Cherokee group. So maybe we could have her on sometime, Donnie, and
Yeah,
talk about that a little bit. I know that they enjoyed that presentation a lot.
that's great. Yeah, Tanya's, well, she's a national treasure
Mhm.
for clothing.
So Sarah would like to learn more about beading and patterns and finger weaving. It's interesting that you bring up finger weaving because that is we're going to be looking at that here in the future, and I believe for the conference also, there is going to be some finger weaving involved with that. So I appreciate that. Joseph would like to see textiles and clothing history. I like that. That's a good one. To go through maybe what clothes we used to wear. I know that we used to wear turbans also at one point. Growing up, I wasn't even aware of that. History also, basketry, beading, moccasin making, smudging, storytelling, and pre-contact religion. I like that, Joseph. Those are all really good ideas. Um, Sarah suggested storytelling. That's another one. We have a lot of very talented storytellers in our tribe, and I encourage everyone to learn stories and to teach their children. My mom used to tell us stories when we were kids. The power would go out, during a thunderstorm. We'd all get in her bed, and she'd tell us stories. And to this day, that's one of the best memories that I have in my life. So, even if we're not good at storytelling, I encourage everyone to learn these Cherokee stories and tell them to their kids. I think that's awesome. So Jacqueline has a lot of great ideas also. Language activities for young people, stickball lessons. That's a great one. Donnie's husband actually makes stickball sticks. So it'd be cool. Maybe we can get him on sometime to go through making some stickball sticks, maybe, Donnie.
Yeah.
He actually made some for us that we used in California. And they were really good. So definitely really admire his work. So all right, genealogy also, finger weaving, stomp dance. So
yeah, Abraham, I think what Chip Saylor posted here is really important too. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. He said he spends a lot of time working with mindfulness with clients and for himself. We all have our own burdens to carry. When someone does or says something that is upsetting to me, I try to look at it from a point of view, from their point of view, so I can understand why they may have behaved that way. That's so important. That's something I'm working on. I don't have to agree with it, but if I can understand it, then I can allow them to learn their lesson in their own way, and I don't need to be angry about it. That's huge. But I think it also it talks, I think what it's saying here is that culture can be healing, guidance, answers. The answers, I've said this for a long time, I believe the answers to so many of the things we deal with as Cherokee people are in the culture, from our own internal experts. And so I think that's a real important statement he made.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And, as you guys are aware, I actually teach a curriculum called Walking in Balance, which is, because I believe also that everything we need, we can find in our culture.
Yes.
And so, I really thank you, Chip, for mentioning that. Of course, me getting sober and being sober for over 8 years, I have a unique perspective in this, and because, looking at things from our Cherokee culture and point of view, it helps us to be less judgmental. Cherokee people, our culture does not promote, being judgmental like that. And so, I really love the way that we communicate, and I'm excited to get back towards that. In my classes that I teach for outside groups, we talk about communication and how, growing up, I remember, when we'd go to visit somebody's house, we would go, they turn their TV off, and we sit on the couches, and I could listen to them talk forever. And I remember when they were talking, they would always give the other person time, so they wouldn't answer right away. And of course they were elders also, so they talked a little different, but I really loved that. And when somebody, they would talk about something, there would just be stillness and quiet for a little while. And like me now, like I have to jump in with an answer. You know what I mean? It's like I have to answer you back really, really quick, and I really feel pressured. Instead, they were more mindful, and they would sit and think about what the person said a little bit. And it would also give them time to, if they wanted to add anything else. And then they would start talking. So, that conversation, Cherokee conversations just flow differently because we are more mindful, and we do believe in being patient, and some of these things. And it's a different way of living, especially even from California, we're in such a hurry all the time. I remember when I first came back to Tahlequah, I was upset. Why is this person driving so slow? Why does the cashier have to ask every single person about their kids? You know what I mean? And so it's like to just get back, into, used to being able to go slow, being able to be mindful, being able to be patient. I appreciate that, Chip. Those are, really important cultural aspects. So, we are going to take everyone's comments here. We actually have a ton that I'm not going to be able to go through all of them right now. So I am going to take them all, and we are going to make sure that we get these addressed. I really appreciate you guys all. Oh, and thank you, Joseph, for sharing the link for Tanya's presentation that she did for you guys. So I appreciate all of you guys, helping us out and, being a part of the conversation. I think it's really awesome. So with that, Dawni, do you have anything to add before we close out?
Just that, we know we're gonna be doing some programming online through September for sure, weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So for the time being, it's still Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central, but we're looking at dates and times as well. And so just watch for us on our Cherokee Nation Community and Cultural Outreach Facebook page. And just, I want everybody to know that we also have a YouTube channel, Cherokee Nation Community and Cultural Outreach YouTube channel. So everything we've taught in these last 6 months, and certainly, but even before that, is archived there. So so look for that as well. And but yeah, we're going to be scheduling programming for the next 5 months. So we'll be here.
So before we leave, Dawni, can you pick me 2 winners for today's? We are going to send out some. Mary sends out some, they call it swag. I think you get a t-shirt, you get some other things, but it's really cool. And so if you don't mind picking 2 numbers, and we will send these out to people.
Well, today I'll go with the lucky Cherokee numbers, the good Cherokee numbers. So 7 for 7 clans. Cindy Combs is number 7.
Cindy Combs, you are a winner, chicken dinner. If you, Cindy, could email me your address, that would be great. It's abraham-bearpaw@cherokee.org. And then you want to pick another one, Dawni?
Yeah, the other Cherokee number that's important is 13. 13 moons in a year. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I should have said all that in Cherokee. Jacqueline Cook Tyler.
All right. Congratulations, Jacqueline. So also, if you could email me your address, I would really appreciate it. That way we can get your t-shirt size and get this stuff sent out to you guys. So with that, I believe we are done. We have gone over actually a little bit over our time. So I just really appreciate everyone joining us today. I hope that you have a great week, and we look forward to you joining us next Thursday at 11. So with that, have a great week, everyone. And, I appreciate your participating with us. And Wado, Dawni, thanks for jumping on and helping us with all this. I really appreciate it.
Wado, Abraham, it was your idea for the survey, and you came up with most of the questions. And so thank you, Wado.
Wado. All right. Have a good one, you guys.